often about what exactly LuminArte is. And it is a water-based cake paint. It's got a heavy, intense pigment. That's actually pigment that is also infused with incredibly sparkly mica. And what's wonderful is it's easy to travel because you do not have to put the lids back on. Over here you can see this is how I carry mine. They're in a tray. That's how I transport them to and from class and then leave them here with the lids off so that they completely dry out. So if you're like me and you need to go to a crop and actually have the lids back on, I just want to make sure you know to double check, make sure that all of the pots are completely dry before you put the lids on. Unless, of course, you're Marah Johnson and you have to scram right out of a class and get right onto a plane and then you have no choice but to put the lids on wet paint. What sometimes tends to happen is the paint works its way into these little threads and then it's impossible to get those lids off. If that happens, go ahead, get a bowl of warm water and soak your pots in it for a couple hours and you should be able to unscrew the cap after that. Otherwise, you're going to go ahead and spritz your little pots. And that spritzing of those pots with the water activates the paint. It gets that pigment rolling and it starts to get the mica to really start dancing around in the water so that you can see what you're doing a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and use this one. This one has a lot of paint ready to rock. You can see that it's nice and juicy. And as you can see on my project, it's very watery. And that's because we've kept the paints wet. So the idea being, throughout your project, make sure that you keep spritzing your paint pots when they start looking a little bit like they're getting dried up. Because the more you water it, the more you're going to be releasing the mica, and the more you're releasing the pigment. So the more intense color you'll get because it's been releasing, basically because you've had it wet. And you could just keep layering it up, layering it up. I love to layer and play with the color. And the other thing is, you'll notice as about 15-20 minutes goes by, look at that snazziness. As about 15-20 minutes goes by, your paint, it gets a little bit thicker, almost like, see that? It's almost like syrup or thick honey. This is about the consistency that you would want if you were going to use it on rubber stamping. And there's a whole video that I already did that shows you a little bit about how to use that. So that's that one. The other thing that I wanted to let you know is that this is a water-based product. Obviously, since we're activating it with water. But that means that it can be used on anything that has a porous quality. So you're going to be able to use it on the paper flowers, on paper, on flocked paper, as I did here, on newsprints, on tags, on wood. Literally anything that will absorb water will absorb LuminArte. I've done it on ribbon, I've done it on canvas. What you cannot do it on so much is on something where the water bubbles up on. Anyway, so the key things to remember are water is your friend, constantly spritz it, make sure you play with the craters. The craters means that, if you can kind of see on this one, the craters means that the pigment is kind of getting nice and intense and that the mica is floating around at the bottom of those craters waiting for you to put on your project. And after that, it's time to have some fun. Thank you, and I guess I'll see you again soon.